Chris, what can you tell me about this menace of society known as prostitution? How are we going to get rid of it? How are we going to eradicate it? Are we going to legalise it to control it?
Well, I've got mixed feelings about the whole idea of prostitution, because I happen to think that girls who sell their bodies are actually making a major contribution to the eradication of rape and other sexual deviations. So I don't have any beef whatsoever with prostitution. I think it's sad that we live in a society where girls are forced into a position of selling their bodies, but we would have to make big changes in our enlightenment before we could start condemning that practice. So yeah, I have to admit that I have availed myself of some beautiful young girls, prostitutes, because I'm a single man, and that's the way it is. So it's supply and demand. As long as there is a demand, there will be a supply. In many ways, everything is governed by supply and demand, as you know, Dale.
How do I know that?
We're talking about all other aspects of our society. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you've availed yourself of prostitutes, but I will say that there are other aspects to all our lives where we are governed by supply and demand.
Oh, do you mean like alcohol and cigarettes?
Yeah, I do mean alcohol, cigarettes, and all
food and meat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Every time you need your grass cut, you've got to ring up the gardener. That sort of stuff. Yeah, I get you. So we don't need to stop this. We should legalise prostitution. That's what you're really saying.
I would say that legalise prostitution and legalise all drugs.
Every drug.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it out of the hands of the nefarious government-sponsored criminals, and make it freely available. Have some sort of societal understanding of why people find it necessary to have drugs, because that's what happens. You know, people do have a need for the use of different narcotics.
Wouldn't it be boredom, maybe, that people take it from?
Boredom. Well, let's eliminate boredom. You know, let's get people to get in touch with their consciousness, because unfortunately, if you allow your body to be taken over or consumed by the effects of drugs and alcohol, then you are losing sight of the big picture, and that causes all sorts of problems. So let's eliminate that. Politicians are responsible for the status quo. They don't want it to change, and the status quo is prostitution, drugs being bought and sold on the streets under the noses of the so laughably called police. I mean, they've had examples over the years of where particularly slabs of cannabis have been taken to police stations, fingerprinted, and then they come back out on the streets with the fingerprint dust still on the slab. So what's going on there? Who did that? Well, obviously it was done by those who had authority. They're criminals, Dale.
If drugs were legalised, then they could grow heroin in this country on farms, and then that could starve the Taliban of their profits. Because most of the heroin that comes into this country comes in from Afghanistan.
Yeah, a lot of it comes on the B-52 transport aircraft. A lot of it is shipped in by the CIA. I mean, what was his name? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was caught with his hands in the pot at Mena Airport in Arkansas when shipments of cocaine were being brought in from South America, which the Clinton dynasty were aware of, and they were responsible for it. And apparently 2 young lads actually witnessed it, and those 2 young lads were taken out. They were taken out because of what they saw. A shipment of cocaine being transferred from US military planes to waiting lorries. And we're not just talking about, you know, a few pound or a few kilos. We're talking about thousands of kilos of cocaine.
I remember a situation a couple of months ago when 2 suitcases full of cocaine turned up at the UN building.
Yeah.
In the reception area.
Yeah.
They didn't get to the bottom of who that belonged to. I'm sure it's back out on the streets now anyway, being sold.
When you realise who is control, you know, in control, the Rothschilds are a satanic family. The Rockefellers are an offshoot of the Rothschilds. The Rockefellers run the UN. They themselves actually donated the land that the UN building was built on in New York. So the whole of the UN is governed by a satanic group, two major families, 2 major financial corporations. And they have massive investment in the destruction of this world that we know it. And this world as we know it is changing, is ending. Now, whether it ends for good or whether it ends for bad is entirely up to us. It's our choice. Our choice. We've got to make the call. You know, do we want it to change for the good, which is what I want to do, and I'm sure you do, or are we going to allow these people to bring about a new world order where the FEMA camps will be the new prisons? And believe you me, there will only be this thing that happened in Germany was all an aspect of new world order. That was the death camps. You know, that's something else. So beware, people. You need to stand up and you need to be counted. And remember this.
Can't you lie down and be counted? It sounds easier.
Yeah, you can levitate and be counted if you want. Whatever you do, make sure that somebody counts you.
Yeah, so switch on, people. Get ready. Things are going to be happening soon.